Hi, everyone. Welcome back. July is Minority Mental Health Month and Social Wellness Month. But with so many people feeling overwhelmed or disconnected, protecting your peace of mind may require more than simply just taking a break. So we have an expert here who's going to help us out. Joining us live in the studio today is the incredible Dr. Relia Johnson to discuss about this and what we can do to try to get over the hump, because a lot of people, first of all, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
You are really needed right now, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
There's a lot going on in this world that people are dealing with. We don't know. You may see somebody down the street who's smiling, but we don't know what's going on in their lives all the time, right? So what is the first piece of advice you can give to people who may be going through things, trying to find peace during a moment of chaos that's going on?
I think that people need to recognize what they are experiencing. If you are doing something out of the normal, if you're sleeping more, if you are not going outside more, if you're not interacting more, if the things that gave you joy in your life before are no longer giving you joy, I think that now you really need to investigate what's happening with you internally and to go past the stigma of what it means to see a therapist. Like, see somebody, talk to somebody, reach out to someone.
It's hard for a lot of people, though, to go that route. Why is it so difficult for people to talk to a therapist or just release some of that anxiety or their concerns to other people? And how can we get over that hump finally?
I think that we really need to investigate what the stigma is. Why is there a bias? Why do you feel like someone is going to judge you? What are the stereotypes that are associated with mental health and mental health crisis, even with seeing a mental health professional? And I think once we've gotten past those stigmas, those stereotypes, then people will more than likely seek out some type of help.
Now, is there help also out there? And I'm just going to be very frank with you on this one, because I know in some of our marginalized communities, there are some mental issues that they're dealing with as well, but they're fearing, I can't afford to go get the help like that. Are there other alternatives that they can seek to try to tackle some of the issues that they may be dealing with?
I mean, to be quite frank, there is a shortage in mental health professionals in Harris County. There's a shortage in Houston. You're talking about 1 in 5 older adults who have some type of undiagnosed mental health crisis.
Wait, did you say 1 in 5? What age range are you talking about when you say older adults?
Well, we're talking about 65 and older.
Oh my gosh, our seniors?
Yes, our seniors.
Oh my
so they have
goodness.
unmet mental health needs. When you're talking about 1.2 million Texas youth who have some type of mental health, behavioral, emotional crisis, they have unmet needs. When you're talking about people who have varying identities, so we're talking about LGBTQ people and having a minority status, that exacerbates the type of unmet mental health needs that they have as well.
And the undiagnosed mental health needs can be a variety of things. And a lot of people who may be thinking, oh, why am I always so depressed or I'm sad, may not even realize that could be because of a mental health issue they're dealing with.
Absolutely.
Right?
And then you're talking about anxiety, you're talking about panic attacks, you're talking about listlessness. So there's a bunch of things that people can be experiencing that can be a part of a broader, bigger diagnosis.
So you have an incredible event that is hopefully going to open the door and open the minds of a lot of people to really help them out. So this kind of segues right into that. If you are needing help, this is probably one of the places to go. So tell me more about this event that you're going to be having.
So I am a sociologist, and we're having an event on September 21st at the Match Theater, and it's called An Evening of Joy, Justice, and Leadership. And we're centering my framework, Joy is Strategy. And so we're looking at how can people really investigate what joy means, not in frivolity or this fleeting moment of happiness, but how can you have joy and grief, joy and pain, joy and discomfort at the same time.
That's interesting. I love the way you kind of put them together, because they're, even though they're in some people's minds polar opposites, they actually work together, kind of like a yin and a yang. They should. It shouldn't just be all about the anger, the struggle, the pain. It should be about how to balance that with the joy to bring you back to more joy, right?
Absolutely. So I just recently lost my 94-year-old grandfather, and in that grief, I still had to hold on to joy.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you so much. 94 years is a long time to be on this earth.
It's a long life. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. And so I have figured out for myself that joy is ever present. So even in my grief, I can still experience joy. I can look at what he brought to my life. And so I think that that's what other people need. We need to be able to hold multiple things at one time.
And at this workshop and at this conference, you're going to be able to give people techniques on how they can find that, or what else will happen?
So we'll talk about joy as strategy. We'll talk about how joy is a revolutionary, radical practice, how we're bringing in hope. And then we'll have this fireside chat that's featuring my book, Hijacking Equity and the Fight for Justice.
And what else can we find in your book?
we talk about distributive justice. You know, there's been an attack on how we are addressing disparate impacts in communities. And so I am bringing in distributive justice as an alternative.
That's wonderful. And also how we can just maybe, and this is just my opinion here, find joy in everything, and how we need to, as a world, find joy.
We have to find joy. It is, and it doesn't have to be these big grandiose things. It could be a joy in a walk. It could be a joy in the sunset. It could be a joy in seeing your child smile first thing in the morning. We can do really minor things to bring us joy, just to bring ourselves back to center.
Wonderful. Now, one final question for you. Where can we get information on, of course, the conference and the workshops that are coming up, and also more on your book?
So you can go to my website, www.aureliajohnson.com, and you can follow me on all social media at Aurelia Johnson, PhD.
Well, Dr. Johnson, I want to thank you so much, because you are bringing joy already to our studio, and we appreciate that. But giving the hope that joy is still out there, no matter what you're going through, that ultimately I would hope would be the goal for every single person, not only watching, but everyone around the world, because there should be more joy than there is sorrow in this world. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really do appreciate your time.
I appreciate you so much.
Yes, thank you, thank you. So everyone, we've got a lot more straight ahead. We're going to have a little bit of weather coming up, but before that, we're going to go to break, and we'll be right back.